Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I was trying to record this video, but was having problems with recording. So just going live here. So hope everybody's doing great on Tuesday here. Just wanted to get on and I call this some Ravens musings here. And if you've been following me on X, appreciate it. If you've been following me on here, also appreciate that. And just want to preface this with not a hater, not someone who wants the Ravens to lose games. I hate the stands. That's who I dislike. And my boy Snacks out there does think I'm a little bit more of a hater than I think, and he's probably right. But I'm also not as big of a hater as you all think I am. Okay, I want this team to win. Okay, but just a couple of things that I wanted to address here. And I posted about this on X, um, like last week, and then someone from Locked on the Ravens, who's Locked on the Ravens, whose opinion you guys seem to value. I don't know. Kind of got wind of it. Made a little video about how the bill, like you don't want to face the Bills in the wild card round. Well, duh. I tweeted that last week or early in the week before he got it, and you guys can't get this through your head. I know you want to lambaste Josh Allen for every interception he throws. I know you want to be like Josh Allen, he's not Lamar. Like you need Buffalo to win that division, okay? Because if Buffalo wins that division, and the Ravens win their division, there's no way that the Ravens and Bills can play in the first round of the playoffs. And it's almost a certainty that there's no way that the Ravens can get the wild card given tiebreakers. Kansas City has a tiebreaker of us. Houston has a tiebreaker of us. The Patriots, they would have to absolutely collapse. Even if Buffalo wins that division, the Patriots are almost certainly then getting the first wild card. Okay. So then if Houston somehow gets in, or Jacksonville, Jacksonville, I don't know what the tiebreaker is, but better record than us currently. So it's basically a division of nothing for the Ravens. And if you're winning the division, who do you want coming into Baltimore? And don't give me the we want to face them because it's revenge. You should want to face whoever gives you the easiest path to get here. So, would you rather face Jacksonville or New England or the Chargers in round one, or would you rather face Buffalo or Kansas City? I mean, pretty easy answer, right? So, when you're sitting out there rooting against Josh Allen, and he needs to throw 9 picks and that on punt doesn't count, or neither does his 2 yard touchdown, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you're rooting for Houston. Remember that Houston has a tiebreaker over the Ravens, too. So if Houston and the Ravens finish with the same record and the Ravens don't win their division, Houston goes over us. Okay. So just remember that when you're hate watching on Thursday. When you're rooting for Kansas City keep losing, you basically need them to lose every game. So that's one thing because they could actually miss the playoffs. But if you're rooting for them to lose games so they're not going to win the West, then there's a good chance that they're coming here. So you really need them to not get in the playoffs. Kansas City, it's a different example with Kansas City because they're so close to not being in the wild card. But Buffalo, if they somehow overtake New England and you face New England in the first round, it'll be a rematch of whatever the Week 16 or Week 17 game is, and Ravens will be favored, right? Like regardless, like they'll be favored. You're facing Drake May, you're facing Travian Henderson, you're facing whoever. I know you want the revenge. I know you want the narrative. Like, let's prove it to Buffalo. Well, they haven't proved it to Buffalo in the playoffs. Okay. I know those games were in Buffalo, but we lost to Kansas City here in a revenge spot in the AFC Championship as a favorite, right? With Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. So, don't know what to tell you guys. While you're sitting out there rooting against Buffalo, you're doing yourself and the Ravens a disservice if that's the matchup that you want. Okay. And then if it comes to that and Buffalo comes in here and kicks our ass and beats us again and sends Lamar Jackson home and the Ravens home for yet another year, remember you guys were the ones that wanted that, okay? And then the Bills fans will be allowed to be insufferable because you will have nothing to say. No leg to stand on. Okay? So while you're hate watching, and I'm sure Kevin will give you guys your homework assignments, like random stats to make up about how when Lamar's not even playing, he's better than Josh Allen, and how Kirk Herbstreit or whoever's doing the game is talking too much about Josh Allen and not enough about Lamar, even though Josh Allen's playing and Lamar isn't. I know this is your guys' Super Bowl, right? I know you're probably taking off work if you even work to be able to hate watch this game, but You gotta root for Buffalo. You have to. They're one game behind the Patriots with a game against the Patriots. I don't know what their tiebreakers are, but you would rather play New England or Jacksonville or the Chargers than Buffalo or Kansas City in the first round. Think with this, okay? Not the revenge narrative and we can beat them, we can beat them. Maybe we can. We haven't. We can beat Jacksonville. We've beaten the crap out of the Chargers. The Patriots are first playoff game for a young team coming into Baltimore. Like, not that the Patriots can't win here, but I like their chance. You've seen the formula, how the Ravens have won playoff games in the past. You got CJ Stroud and a bad Texans team at home that barely won their division. Came here, got smoked, beat Russell Wilson last year, and then went to Buffalo and lost. So, because if you lose in the division or in the wild card round, don't even make the divisional round. If you make the playoffs, like that's bye bye for everybody. So, so that's just sad. But I'm sure your hate watching is going to continue for Thursday, not realizing that you need Houston to lose and kind of get rid of them because they have the tiebreaker over the Ravens. Okay. And yes, head to head matters. It's the number one tiebreaker. Regardless how you spend it. And the Ravens, regardless what you think, it's not a given that they're going to win out. It's not a given that they're sweeping the Steelers, that they're beating New England, that they're going in and winning in Green Bay, that they're even going to help sweep Cincinnati. Cincinnati destroyed this defense last year. Okay. Now, I do think they sweep Cincinnati. I think they split with Pittsburgh, and Green Bay and New England are going to be, you go 1-1 there, but that puts you at 7 losses. Pittsburgh's got 4 right now. So unless you sweep Pittsburgh, they got to lose an additional game after that in order for you to win the division because you ain't getting the wild card. Now, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Houston all have the tiebreaker over you. And if you lose to New England, they have the tiebreaker over to you too. Plus, they'll have a better record. So it's a division or bust, and you don't want to be facing Buffalo in that first round. Like, I will put all my money on Buffalo. You can call me a hater. Ravens will be favored, and I will gladly take the Bills. And sadly, I'll probably be right. Just a couple other things here to address as well. Like, a lot of talking about the team and the offensive line and things like that. Like, I get it. It's not a great offensive line. It's subpar and whatever metrics people try to show or whatever. It's like we watch the games. Okay, we see them getting beaten left and right. Lamar not have a ton of time to throw. I get it. It needs to be better. But what you guys fail to realize is it's the NFL. There's a salary cap. Okay, so where are you going to get this money to sign a good offensive lineman to the money that they're worth? Because no one's going to take a discount just to play for the Ravens. Like, the Ravens don't go to the Super Bowl. So you can't say that they just want to come here and win because they don't win. They lose in the playoffs. Like, that's what they do. Okay, so no one's going to take a discount just to come here. Okay, so here's the issues. You all want a new offensive lineman. Okay, that's fair. Well, you all celebrated when they gave Bateman way more money on the extension than they should have. I was called an idiot for saying maybe you shouldn't resign him. You all told me, gotta resign, gotta extend Bateman, like blah blah blah. Okay, he's got less than 200 yards this year. Cool. Couldn't that money go to an offensive lineman? It probably could have, but you all called me an idiot. You re-signed an aging Derrick Henry, who has been good this year. Father Time is undefeated. People go like that. Henry's got 3 more years there. You mean to tell me year 3 he's going to be an elite running back that's worth the 10 or however many $1 million it is? It ain't going to matter who the offensive line is if he's that old. And at that point, and then you're all clamoring for Keaton Mitchell anyway, but you were celebrating paying all this money for Henry. And again, it's probably not a bad deal, like right now, but you can't sign a running back at a position at that age when other teams don't do that. Other teams invest in the offensive line, okay? And you all celebrated that. You all celebrated that saying King Henry, King Henry, King Henry, okay? So where's the money going to come from? You re-signed Kyle Hamilton or extended Kyle Hamilton, which absolutely 1,000% is worth it. God, dude's a beast. Top 5 defender in football. Like, okay. But guess what? Your quarterback Guess how much money he's making? Okay, his cap hit's gonna be somewhere around $70 million next year. You don't think that maybe he could restructure and get himself a better offensive line? And again, I talked about it with my man Selly. Selly, what's up, bro? Um, when we did the pod, a couple weeks ago, it's like I don't begrudge players if they don't want to restructure. Like, get all the money you can. You're playing in the NFL. There's guys that can't walk at age 30 that had to retire because of how physical the sport is. Like, get every dollar that you can. That's fine. But then don't complain that that person doesn't have an offensive line when they could restructure and help their offensive line, help their team get a better offensive line around them. Because the NFL isn't going to care the Ravens and be like, well, let's just manipulate the salary cap to help the Ravens. People aren't going to take hometown discounts to play here. They're not. Okay. So where's it going to come from? And again, if Lamar doesn't restructure, that's his right. I'm not going to be mad at him. But you all tell me all he cares about is winning more than his own stats. You care about winning, you can restructure the deal, bring in two good offensive linemen, and your life's a hell of a lot easier. Simple formula. We've seen teams built in the trenches, right? We see why the Eagles are so good. You need cheap talent. If you have a quarterback that's making 50, 60, $70 million, you need cheap talent around them. You need to draft well or get cheap talent. Well, the Ravens don't have cheap talent anymore around them. You want to pay likely top 5 tight end money? I know you guys do. Okay. Well, would you rather have an offensive lineman or Isaiah Likely, right? Okay. So you're going to have to draft well. They're not drafting high enough in the first round to get one of these elite offensive linemen, which means then you got to trade draft picks. I've been a proponent of trading draft picks. To me, I would trade a first round pick for a player in their prime in a heartbeat. Like, what you're getting with that player. So that might be a route to go, but we've seen EDC doesn't do that. Oh, well, he traded Orlando Brown for a first round pick and got Oweh with that. So, but unless you're trading up in there or you have to give something to get something. So teams aren't just going to be like, well, here, take our pick, Ravens. We'll give you a 7th rounder for it. Like, no. Okay, regardless of what you guys think. So we're not going to bend over a team so you have to give up something of value to get something of value. So you want to trade up in the top 10, top 12 to get a good offensive lineman? Great. You're trading your first round pick this year and probably next year. You're trading a second round pick, or you're trading whoever. You're trading whoever. Okay. You want to re-sign Travis Jones to some big money? Because I know you all tell me he's like the second coming of Aaron Donald. Well, he ain't going to take less money to stay here. So how are you going to get an offensive lineman if you do that, right? So it's about drafting it. And I do think that this team obviously hasn't hit on the draft picks as much, but like, if you're going to address it in the first round, you're not generally addressing it in the late 20s. Okay. And if this team makes the playoffs, that's where they're going to draft. But we're not rooting for them to lose, right? So what are you going to do? And then also this notion that they're intentionally playing Daniel Falele when there's a better option sitting on the bench just to screw Lamar and hurt Lamar and all this stuff that I can't believe you guys are actually saying. It's like, yes, Harbaugh might have snipped a little bit and gave a kind of crappy answer, which I don't know what you expect him to answer, but like, he's snapping at Jeff, and he has no reason to snap at Jeff because Jeff's awesome. And Jeff's a very, very respected member of the media, very rationally thinking, but what kind of answer did you expect him to give? And it's like, you don't think that they want to put the best 5 offense linemen out there? Who are they going to put out? You haven't seen Emory Jones play one snap of NFL football yet. You're telling me automatically that he's better. What if he's not? He's also not ready. Ben Cleveland, maybe he's not better. Like, you don't think if they had a better option that they would put one in there? Like, you think they're intentionally trying to have Lamar get hurt? We saw what that does to the team. You think they're intentionally trying to do that? You think EDC and Harbaugh are sitting there and being like, you could draft an offensive lineman, but screw Lamar. Or like, yeah, we got the stud offensive lineman sitting there, and we're just going to do it just to piss the flock of Lamar off. Like, no, they're not doing that, okay? So before you go and tweet about, like, the offensive line sucking and EDC this and EDC this, and I'm not an EDC apologist, but there's a salary cap. Your quarterback's salary hit next year is $70 million. You're paying an aging middle linebacker who hasn't been productive. You're paying an aging running back. You're paying a wide receiver two who only has 200 yards this year. Yes, he got hurt, but you could pay freaking Ricky Pearsall. You could pay Christian, like guys, Jawan Jennings, like all these guys are, Pop Douglas. They're all better than Bateman, but they're paying him. Okay, and you all celebrated that. When Isaiah Likely get top five money, well, how you top five tight end money? How you gonna do that? He ain't gonna take a discount to stay here. No, no chance in hell. You think that Zay should be getting paid more than Garrett Wilson, which you've already told us and called us an idiot if we disagreed with that. Okay. Well, he ain't going to take less money to stay here. So where are you going to get this offensive lineman from? Your quarterback's going to have to restructure. And again, if he doesn't, he doesn't. But then he needs to realize that, hey, the offensive line or some areas going to suffer. And hey, if you build the offensive line and it means that you got to say bye-bye to other people, then your skill position players aren't as good. That's how it works. Like you need to hit home runs in the draft. And this team hasn't done it, but it's going to be built through the draft. So when you're sitting there and you're listening to like Kevin or Ramey and you're Zach or whoever it is, like they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, you can just say the offensive line sucks. How are you going to build it? Okay, there's cap constraints. You've seen it in the league for years, for decades. A quarterback making that much money, some part of the team's going to suffer. That's not a Lamar thing. It's every single aspect of it. Look at Cincinnati. How bad is their offensive line? Joe Burrow's making a ton of money. Both of their receivers are making a ton of money. That's how they just built their team. Okay. So the reason the Rams are so good is they have cheap talent on defense. The Eagles built in the trenches. Jalen Hurts, up until a couple years ago, very, very friendly deal. Okay. Like Mahomes has restructured multiple times in Kansas City. Like Buffalo's offensive line ain't great. Josh Allen's playing like Superman too. Like it's not just a Lamar thing. Okay, offense lines are bad because you're building with your quarterback, and if you miss on other draft picks, it's gonna. So Lamar's gonna have to carry this team, or the other players around him are gonna have to help. The offense line is gonna suffer. Like people are gonna have to step up. Like that's just how it's gonna be, unless you hit a home run in the draft, and you ain't hitting a home run draft in 25, 26, 27 through 30, whatever it is. You're going to have to trade up. You're going to have to trade draft picks. You're going to have to trade players. You're going to have to cut players that you don't want to cut. You're going to have to not resign players that you don't want to resign. And cross your fingers that someone's going to want to come here and take a hometown discount, thinking that, oh, they just want to come here and win. Well, the Ravens don't win in the playoffs. They don't. They have it. Okay? Washington has won 2 playoff games in a season more recently in the playoffs and more recently than the Ravens have. Washington. Last year won 2 playoff games. The Ravens haven't won 2 in the same playoffs in Lamar's career. Okay? So just to think that people just come here just to win, they don't. Okay? So I know you guys won't think rationally, and you'll be hate watching Josh Allen on Thursday, and you'll laugh my ass off when Houston's sitting there at 6-5 and we beat the Jets, and then you see the graphic and it's like, let's say the Steelers win. Steelers in the playoffs. Kansas City, Houston, Ravens. Oh, wait, we kind of needed Houston to lose? Yeah, we did, because we need Buffalo to win that division. So, you're the ones that want to play Buffalo. I don't. Okay? So, the offensive line ain't changing this year, so just got to deal with it. And there's no point in complaining about it. If you think Ben Cleveland is the answer, then you're absolutely not a ball knower. Okay? So, but yeah, obviously 5-5 is much better. So we'll see where the season goes. But just think rationally before you're doing these tweets. And the offensive line ain't gonna get fixed unless other stuff happens. And you're gonna have to say goodbye to some players that you don't want to say goodbye to. You can't sign everybody. Okay, so just think about that. Hopefully this is Ravens year. We'll see, but shout out to everybody. Thank you again for listening, for watching. Subscribe here. You could call me an idiot, do whatever you want. Like, it is what it is. You can call me a hater, but I want this team to win as well too. I can just think rationally and just not overreact. Okay, so Drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, and see you guys later.